Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Keeping up with compliance can feel like a never-ending race. But today, we're going to help you get ahead of the curve on a topic that should be at the top of every compliance officer's mind.
That's right. We're talking about insider threats.
Yeah, insider threats, it's one of those things that can keep you up at night because it's not just about those faceless hackers out there trying to break in. It's about the people you trust. The employees, the contractors, even those partners who already have access to your systems and data.
Exactly. It's often a blind spot for organizations.
Mhm.
Everyone's so focused on external threats, but those insiders, they can be just as damaging, if not more so.
So let's dive into that. Why are these insider threats so dangerous?
Well, I mean, think about it. They already have the keys to the kingdom, right?
Eh?
They know the layout. They know where the vulnerabilities are, what information is most sensitive.
It's scary.
Yeah, it really is. And their motivations can vary. I mean, some insiders, they're driven by malice. They want to steal data, sabotage systems, maybe even get revenge.
Oh, wow.
But others, they might not even be intentionally malicious.
Okay.
They're negligent,
Oh,
right?
I see.
Maybe they fall for a phishing scam,
Yeah.
or they accidentally misconfigure something.
Yeah.
And that opens the door to a breach.
So we're talking about a whole spectrum of intent here,
Yeah.
from deliberate actions to just careless mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we also have to consider third-party risks. I
Mhm.
mean, nowadays, businesses rely on a whole ecosystem of contractors and vendors.
Oh, absolutely.
And even if those third parties have the best intentions, their security practices might not be as strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a weak link in your chain.
Yeah, you're right.
You could build the strongest fortress, but if you leave that side door unlocked,
Doesn't matter,
it
right?
doesn't matter. And that's what makes insider threats so challenging. They're already inside. Their actions might look perfectly normal on the surface.
Yeah, they blend in.
They blend in. And that makes them so hard to detect.
Until it's too late.
Until it's too late. That's right.
Okay, so this is already starting to sound like a compliance nightmare. What are some of the red flags that might signal that an insider threat is already at play?
Well, one of the most common signs is unusual activity around data access.
Oh.
For example, you might have a sales representative, and they suddenly start downloading huge customer databases right before they resign.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you have an IT administrator who starts accessing systems that they don't normally need for their job.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things that should raise some eyebrows.
Yeah.
So it's about being attuned to those subtle changes in behavior,
Okay.
those actions that just seem a little out of place.
Hmm.
Another red flag is unexplained system changes or outages.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Or for instance, maybe a critical file gets deleted
Yeah.
and nobody knows why.
Mm-hmm.
Or a server crashes for no apparent reason.
Right.
While those could just be innocent technical glitches,
Right. Sure.
they could also be signs of an insider trying to cover their tracks.
Oh, okay. I see.
So yeah, those digital breadcrumbs can be really important clues.
Okay, so we're starting to get a sense of what to look out for. But where does the compliance officer fit into all of this?
Well, compliance officers are really on the front lines of this battle.
Right.
They're the ones who are responsible for building a framework to prevent these breaches from happening in the first place.
Okay.
And that starts with a robust risk assessment.
So not just your general security check, but something more targeted?
Exactly. You need specific tools and techniques to pinpoint those vulnerabilities that are specific to insider threats.
Okay.
For example, behavioral analytics can be really powerful in this context.
No, I've heard that term, behavioral analytics, but can you break that down a bit? What does that actually look like in practice?
Sure. So think of it like a security camera,
Mm-hmm.
but for employee digital activity.
Okay.
It tracks how people are interacting with your systems. What files are they accessing? What times are they logging in? What websites are they visiting?
Mm-hmm.
And then it can flag any deviations from their normal patterns.
Okay.
So let's say, an employee starts accessing confidential financial data late at night, after everyone else has gone home.
Yeah.
That might trigger an alert for further investigation.
That makes sense.
Right.
So it's about spotting those subtle shifts in behavior that could indicate a problem.
Exactly. Another crucial tool is privilege audits.
Okay.
This involves reviewing user access rights to make sure that people only have access to the information and systems they absolutely need to do their jobs.
So it's that least privilege principle that we always hear about.
That's right. That's right.
Makes sense. You wouldn't want a junior employee having access to the CEO's email, right?
Exactly. And that's where compliance officers play a key role in establishing clear policies and procedures around data access and user privileges.
So they're not just reacting to threats. They're proactively putting safeguards in place to try to prevent them from happening.
Exactly. And that brings us to another essential element of a strong insider threat program: documentation.
Documentation, okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical for compliance officers to meticulously document their risk assessments, their policies, their procedures, their investigations, everything.
Why is documentation so important in this context?
Well, there are a few reasons. First, it helps ensure consistency and accountability.
Okay.
Second, it provides a clear audit trail if an incident does occur.
Yeah, you need that paper trail.
You need that paper trail, which can be crucial for regulatory compliance and legal proceedings.
Right.
And third, it helps you track your progress, identify areas for improvement, and demonstrate the effectiveness of your program to senior management.
Okay, so it sounds like documentation is really the backbone of a successful insider threat program, but I imagine that can be a lot to handle, especially for organizations that might be a little resource constrained.
You're right, it can feel overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
but even small steps can make a big difference.
Okay, good. So what are some simple but effective measures that compliance officers can implement right away?
Well, one of the most impactful things you can do is adopt a structured framework for your insider threat program. A lot of organizations use the NIST SP 853. It's a publication that provides guidelines for developing and implementing security controls. Specifically, Control AC6, least privilege, is really crucial in an insider threat context. It's about making sure that users only have access to the information and systems they absolutely need for their jobs. It's a cornerstone, really.
Yeah, like putting up guardrails, right?
Yeah,
To minimize the damage if someone goes rogue.
exactly. And speaking of testing your defenses, technology plays a big role here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's a whole arsenal of tools compliance officers can use to combat these threats. One that's really effective is DLP software, data loss prevention. It's like a watchdog for your data.
Okay, I like that. A watchdog, how does that work?
Well, it monitors your network, and it can flag any unusual data transfers that could signal a problem. Let's say, an employee tries to email a massive spreadsheet of customer data to their personal account.
Yeah.
DLP would detect that and could block the transfer
Whoa, really?
or alert the security team.
So it's like having a security guard stationed at every exit,
Right.
making sure no one's sneaking out with sensitive information.
Exactly. And then there's user behavior analytics, or UBA.
Oh, yeah, UBA, I've heard of that.
Remember we talked about behavioral analytics earlier
Mm-hmm.
for risk assessments?
Yeah.
Well, UBA, it takes that concept to the next level.
Okay, so it's like that security camera we talked about, but with even more intelligence behind it.
Precisely. It analyzes patterns in how employees interact with your systems.
Interesting.
It can spot those anomalies, like someone accessing systems they shouldn't be, or
Yeah.
downloading massive amounts of data, things that could point to a potential threat.
So if someone's acting out of character digitally, UBA would flag it.
Right. Like, let's say, a marketing assistant who typically only accesses marketing materials suddenly starts poking around in the finance department's files.
Uh-oh.
That's a sign, right? They might be up to no good.
That's sneaky.
And UBA would pick up on that.
That's incredible. It's like a digital detective constantly on the case analyzing clues.
That's a great way to put it. And we can't forget about IAM, Identity and Access Management.
KM, yeah.
It's all about controlling who has access to what.
Right.
Strong passwords,
Yeah.
multi-factor authentication, making sure people only have the permissions they need.
Oh, yeah, least privilege again.
That's where it comes in.
Right.
Like building a secure perimeter around your digital assets, right?
Yeah.
Multiple layers of authentication and authorization.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, IAM not only helps mitigate insider threats, but it strengthens your overall security posture.
Oh, so it's a win-win.
It is.
So we've got DLP, UBA, IAM. These technologies sound amazing.
They're pretty powerful.
But I imagine technology alone isn't enough, right?
You're absolutely right. You can't replace the human element. One of the most effective and often overlooked strategies is employee training.
Oh, the good old-fashioned approach. But does security training really make a difference in this digital age?
It does. It's your first line of defense. Regular security awareness training can really help employees spot phishing attempts,
Okay.
understand the importance of strong passwords, recognize those potential threats. Remember, we talked about the negligent insider.
Yeah, the one who accidentally clicks on a malicious link.
Exactly. Proper training can drastically reduce those incidents.
Okay, so it's about empowering employees to be cyber savvy, like those human firewalls we talked about.
Precisely. And it's not just about the technical stuff. It's about cultivating a culture of security awareness.
Yeah.
And that starts with leadership setting the tone.
So it's got to be a top-down approach.
Absolutely. When leaders prioritize security and make it clear that it's everyone's responsibility, that creates a ripple effect throughout the organization.
Okay, so we've covered risk assessments, policies, technology, and training. Sounds like a pretty comprehensive approach.
It really is. And the good news is you don't have to do everything at once.
Oh, good. That's reassuring.
Start by assessing your vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Identify those areas where you need to improve and build from there.
That feels more manageable. But let's say a company's done all of that, implemented all the right controls. Are they completely immune to insider threats?
Honestly, there's no such thing as 100% immunity when it comes to security. But by taking this proactive and holistic approach, you can significantly reduce your risk.
So it's all about mitigating those risks as much as possible. But what happens if, despite our best efforts, an insider threat does manage to breach our defenses? What are the immediate steps a company should take?
Well, it's a high-pressure situation for sure.
Yeah.
But having that clear incident response plan in place,
Mm-hmm.
it's crucial.
Okay.
First and foremost, you need to contain the damage.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Stop it from spreading.
Exactly.
Mm.
That might involve immediately suspending the suspected insider's access,
Mm.
isolating affected systems, or even, shutting down certain operations completely.
So it's like digital triage, right? Stop the bleeding.
Exactly. Once you've contained that immediate threat, then you got to launch a thorough investigation.
Yeah, get to the bottom of it.
Right. Gather evidence, analyze those logs, interview witnesses, try to piece together what happened,
How it happened.
and what data might have been compromised.
Yeah, time for the digital forensics team to put on their detective hats.
Right. And throughout this entire process, documentation is key.
Oh, of course. Documentation. Always important.
Every step you take, every decision you make needs to be carefully documented.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does this help ensure a smooth and organized investigation,
Yeah.
but it also provides a valuable record for any potential legal proceedings or regulatory reporting down the line.
Right, you've got to cover all your bases.
Okay.
So contain, investigate, document, those are the immediate priorities.
Mm.
But what about the long-term implications? What happens after an insider threat breach?
Well, it really depends on the severity of the incident.
Okay.
But even a seemingly minor breach can have significant consequences.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's the financial impact, of course.
Yeah, the cost of everything.
The cost of remediation, legal fees, potential fines or penalties, and then there's the reputational damage.
Oh, yeah, people lose trust.
The loss of customer trust, negative media coverage, yeah.
And it's got to be tough on the employees, too. Morale takes a hit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes an emotional toll on everyone.
Yeah, the whole organization, really. So it's not just about patching up those technical holes. It's about addressing the wider impact on the company and its people.
Exactly. And that's why having a comprehensive insider threat program is so important.
Yeah, it's more than just preventing breaches, right?
It is. It's about being prepared to respond effectively if one does occur. And, it's not a matter of if, but when you'll face an insider threat.
Right, that's a bit of a scary thought.
It's a reality, though.
Okay, well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. I feel like we've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah.
From identifying red flags to preventative measures to actually responding to a breach, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we've gone deep.
As we were discussing all of this, something struck me. We've talked a lot about the technical side of insider threats, the tools we can use, all of that. But what about the human side of things?
Oh, that's a great point.
What are some of those psychological factors that might lead someone to become an insider threat?
Well, there's a whole field of study dedicated to understanding the psychology of insider threats.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it's a fascinating area. Some of the common factors that come up, include things like financial distress, maybe disgruntlement with the company, feeling overlooked or undervalued, or even, in some cases, a desire for revenge.
So it's not always about malice, necessarily.
Right, not always.
Sometimes it's about people who are struggling, who feel pushed to their limits, and they make, a bad decision.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to create a work environment where employees feel valued, where they feel supported.
Yeah, a sense of community.
Absolutely. Open communication, regular check-ins, all of that can go a long way in preventing these situations.
So it's not just about building firewalls, it's about building trust.
Well said. That's a perfect way to put it. And for our listeners out there, I encourage you to think about that human element. What are some things your organization can do to foster a culture of trust and openness and really security awareness? Knowledge is power. The more we understand about this complex issue, the better equipped we'll be to protect ourselves.
Well said. Great advice. And on that note, folks, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of insider threats. We hope you found this helpful and are feeling a little more prepared to tackle this challenge. Remember, stay vigilant, stay proactive, and never underestimate the power of human connection. Until next time, keep diving deep.